So, meow. If I consume, yep. Okay. I was gonna make sure. Now, this is 9-6. Meow. I'm not sure I realize that, isn't? Meow. Of course. For some reasons, meow. Of course. Until I realize that, meow. I know, for some reasons, meow. Of course. Meow. I know. For some reasons, eventually. Because I said so, eventually. Because I said so, meow. I know, for some reasons. Meow. Of course. Until I realize that, eventually. Meow. I know if you consume, meow. Of course. If I consume visually. Meow. I know for some reasons, eventually. Meow. Of course. Until I realize that. So, how are we gonna figure this out? Meow. I know for some reasons, meow. Of course, you're not sure I realize that, meow. Right, you're not sure, meow. Of course. Not sure I realize that. For some reasons, meow. Of course. Not sure I realize that, isn't? Meow. I know, for some reasons, I guess. If I could say meow. Yep. If I could say usually. Of course. Until I didn't know this. Meow. I know, for some reasons. Meow. Of course. Until I realized that. For some reasons. If I could assume. And I was gonna make sure, right? Meow. Of course. For some reasons, if you consume, no? I have no idea. If I consume visually. Well, I don't know. If you consume visually. Meow. Until I realize that. If I consume visually. Meow. Of course. Until you didn't know this, essentially. If I consume, I know. If you consume Julie, yeah? Of course. Until I didn't know this, okay? Because I said so, Julie. Until I didn't know this, right? Yes, meow. If you consume, yep, meow. Of course. If you consume, meow. I know. For some reasons, meow. Of course. Not sure where does that, meow. Of course. Not sure where does savagely, meow. Of course. Until you didn't know this, right? Meow. Of course. If I could assume, usually. Meow. Well, I was gonna make sure. For some reasons, I guess. And I was gonna make sure, isn't? Yes, meow. If I could assume, visually. Yes, meow. I know. For some reasons, yeah. Of course. till I didn't notice, Right, if you consume, of course, if I consume usually, I know, right? If I consume usually, of course, until I didn't notice, I know, for some reasons, of course, until I realized that, bye. Until I realized that, of course, until I didn't notice, Alright then.